You know who
And
I wouldn't be nice to? You know who I
I got
absolutely would not be nice to?
a funny feeling. I know what you're gonna say.
Yeah, it's this guy on YouTube. His name's like Bromley or something. He's like fat and like doesn't
Yep.
have any muscle, but tells me I don't know how to grow muscle properly.
It's weird. I've heard
Strange.
of this guy. Yeah,
What's up with
it's
that?
perplexed. I recently meaning like 20 minutes ago, watched some of his vids, and it left me perplexed, man. It left me upset emotionally, you know, a little bit off kilter, let's say. Man, first of all, dude, like, let's just present. We'll try and loosely frame who this guy is for our
Are you
audience.
familiar with this fellow?
I'm not
Like,
familiar with his background at all. We'll get into that some other time because we didn't research it and stuff like that. But he seems to be a coach of some nature. I'm not sure what nature exactly because I'm pretty sure his clients aren't gaining any muscle. Um, but so we're gonna break this stuff down. We're gonna address some of his arguments and stuff here. But I want you guys to pay very close attention to the way this guy speaks and what the style of arguments he presents are. Because for those of us who, may or may not be dissidents, not restricted to the fitness sphere, let's say, maybe our dissidence overlaps into other general areas. We've heard this type of rhetoric before, and you've heard this style of argumentation before. So just keep it in mind while you listen to this man, because there's a term that floats around circles, certain circles that occupy certain, arguably darker areas of the web. Not the dark web, because that's a bad place, dirty, gross, bad place. But we'll call it the light web. Where the light shines through. We're relegated. These kind of folks are relegated to the corners of the web, and they call individuals like this. They refer to them as bugmen. I'm not going to say that I do that or that I subscribe to that type of behavior. I'm a very mainstream kind of normie. That's how I feel. But
I just want to say this: you always want to watch how a person approaches debate. When they are trying to refute an idea or teach you something, you need to be very, very conscious of the way they go about doing it. And like anytime I debate someone, there's usually three things that happen. There's always appeals to authority, and then there's character assassination, and then there's ad hominem attacks. So when a person doesn't have actual truth on their side, that's how they're going to debate you.
And you're about to see all three in fine form, ladies and gentlemen. All three in fine form.
In fine form.
Yeah, what's pretty incredible too is this. Anyways, we'll see him do it. But one of the things that blew my mind was that this dude, he starts referring because I guess what happened was he posted some anti-hit content. And he got destroyed in his own comment
section. He got wrecked in his comment section bad.
Which,
and then he had...
yeah.
Oh, go on.
Well, so apparently he did this before to to Westside Barbell and some Louis Simmons fans and stuff who are actually giant, strong individuals. Generally speaking, if you've done some Westside Barbell stuff, you're like probably huge and your lifts are huge and stuff like that.
If you survived, if you didn't blow your body apart, you're alive.
Yeah, exactly. So these types of dudes, like they generally have like prison records and stuff like that. So he took down all the Westside Barbell videos that he chirped Westside Barbell on. So he's generally not a courageous guy, I would go ahead and say, but especially in the face of criticism. But what he does here is he says that the hit squad, let's say, were using science to, they were science cells, that they were using studies and science to support their arguments. and which is like really a real about face for vol cells. Vol cells apparently can no longer use the science-based arguments to own the incel community, incel for intensity, and thusly, because they can no longer do this, now they're attacking their own institutions. They're attacking science itself. So you're going to see them do it here, and it's pleasurable to say the least. I found it pleasant, but I digress a little bit here. My intro's dragging out, but this dude blew my. I'm trying not to swear. We're on platforms where we can't swear. I don't know. Who cares? I guess.
5 minutes into this video, I watched one other one of him that he put out, but then he got roasted in his comments, and he made this whole series, right? This 4-part series, the Anti-Hit Manifesto. Wow. Yeah. Who else wrote manifestos?
Yeah. What does that remind you? What kind of language are we approximating there, ladies and gentlemen? You know,
bro, 5 minutes in, I felt like I had trend rage. 5 minutes in.
Yeah.
I was so offended for anyone's ears who had to ingest this shit.
I'm not even on trend, and I got trend rage.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it came off weeks ago.
It's still in your system.
No, it's acetate. It gets out in a couple of days.
Oh, okay. MPMD might say something about that. But so yeah, dude. Like, I was scrolling through his old videos, and there's like one of them that has like a hammer and sickle in the thumbnail. So there's a little hint. Yeah, dude. There's a little hint. Wow. I don't know what he was doing in the video. We'll have to look at that one another time, because he was talking about I think it was his periodization useless for power lifters. I'm not sure what he said, but we'll go look at that another time, and maybe we'll A-log that video, because this guy sucks. He's a bug man. But yeah, so let's proceed here. Let's look at this dude. First, okay, while you guys, we're about to press play here, but like, just please, like, take a moment and look at his physique, everybody. Okay, please. I think Billy had his hand up before when he was drinking something, and you guys have all seen Billy's physique. Okay, I flexed for you before. I'm skinnier, but I'm not fat. And this guy's fat. There we go. Look at that thing. Look at that. Look at those mountains.
The torn one. The torn one looks even cooler.
There we go. Look at those mountains. Slap him, Billy. There we go.
They're hard.
It's like that little kid. Have you seen that little kid? I posted him to my channel. That little kid from IG. Jacob. I love that little Irish kid. He's a legend. You've seen that?
No, I haven't.
I'll send it to you. No stress. Okay. No further ado, ladies and gentlemen. Alexander Bugman Bromley.
For the last 5 days, I've been in the trenches taking grenades in the comment section, and I had to make this video. I usually don't like to dwell on topics like this too long. I like to move on, but I got to put the last nail in this coffin. I got to address the insanity in the comment section from the Cult of High Intensity video I did last week. I want to start out by saying you're probably going to see some things from me that are a little new or a little.
Oh, yeah, you can skip ahead of this, buddy.
I'm upping my content.
We don't care about his content.
Rant, a waste, but our videos or the videos more comment as if Yates and Menser, anything like what Yates and Menser did. There was also a lot of controversy over whether or not they actually did low volume training. Somebody shared a workout that Dorian Yates had endorsed from like 1991 that was all pyramid sets. So there is, I think, reason to believe that a lot of these guys had a lot more volume, a lot more work in their training than many of the disciples think. I know Menser started out with volume. Andy Baker has a really good bit about how the reason HIIT works so well is because it came on the back end of volume. You don't say you adapted to one type of training, and when that stopped being effective, switching the stimulus caused you to grow. No shit. Tell me more. That's like the backbone of programming. But anyways, I'm taking Jay to task because he's so hardline that this is the way to train.
Jay Vincent is the guy he's talking about.
What strength athletes should do. He had the Elliot Hulse video where he's telling him to work you're already skilled. You don't need more skill. So just do the skill right before the contest. But off season, this is the best way to make the muscles bigger.
That actually sounds smart.
It's a load of nonsense and horrible information for anybody who wants to be good at strength sports. But I'm going to get to that later. Apparently, after I made the video, Jay went live, and I remember seeing it. The title of the video was something like, "Somebody please show me a study that shows HIIT doesn't work," which right off the bat is like just a horrible, like weird, bad faith tactic, because the issue is not really had by anybody that HIIT doesn't or cannot work. It is with
what the fuck are you talking about?
It is the only way to work, or all of the beliefs they have about the way the human body grows that aren't based in reality. Like the only thing that matters is effort, or the only thing that matters are the effective reps.
Isn't that what the study said?
It's backwards, and it's verified.
Did the study show that it works?
Yeah. So pause it for a second, producer.
What the?
So like, these are, I just had the word in my head. Now I'm a fucking meathead, so I can't remember. These are straw mans, right? He's straw manning his own comment section as they're destroying him because he can't, because he's in the trenches, you know? He's taking grenades. You're a fucking, sorry, now I'm going to swear. Whatever, we're live. You can take it off YouTube. It's a fucking, okay?
Oh, we're gonna get scraped.
I said the R word now too. But anyways, logical fallacy number one from this dude. Okay, right? Billy's named 3, right? And then he's already in for one that wasn't even on the list. You know what I mean? Like, and then just look
straw mans, yeah.
Yeah, the straw mans. Look at his love handles. Okay, please. Just look at his physique. It's not good. Okay.
The soft doughiness.
Yeah. Yeah. You can see when that little line across the middle of your body, right below that pumpkin head, is more narrow than the line like just around his fingertips. Do you understand, folks? This is not good.
That's not good. That's birth in the hips. He got some fat around his uterus. He's got some cushion around his uterus.
Dude,
that's
like,
sweet.
Like, he says that and I think it's a different video. He says that you something about who you shouldn't be taking advice from. So, like, that people who say certain things, these are people regarding the HIIT community that you shouldn't be taking advice from. Take a look at that. That's argument number one. That's mogging top set number one. Okay.
I mean, there's so much to break down, though. I mean, like, just say that that high intensity or heavy duty training is effective because it comes off of the back of volume work. Oh yeah, these other people started off with volume work. Yeah, because that's all that was taught. That's all that anyone ever knew, because it was the same garbage that was fucking perpetrated and recycled since the 50s. Yeah. In the bodybuilding magazines. What did anyone else have? Ask any one of these people what their story of getting into bodybuilding was. It was picking up a magazine. No shit, they trained high volume. Duh.
Yeah. You went and got what was Arnold's book? My brain is mush.
The Arnold Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding.
Yeah, the Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding. Duh. That, or you picked up any one of Weider's magazines with the new latest and greatest craze from the guy doing 4 hours of training 6 days a week. Anyways, let's proceed. Let's get angry at the next thing he says.
That show that not to be the case. There are other variables. Emphasizing one involves de-emphasizing the others, but there are multiple variables, and they can all be leveraged to grow size and strength. And what happens when you get used to one? You plateau, you stop responding. When you adapt to it, it renders the stimulus inert. It just becomes another day at the office. The most intelligent thing you can do is not to put your head down and just say progressive overload and try to go harder, harder, harder. No, the most intelligent thing you can do is turn one of the dials, do a little more work than you're used to, or a little more intensity, or a little more density. Adjust your training and watch yourself grow again. I need like an intervention when it comes to the comments, because I keep saying like I'm not going to engage with them anymore. Don't go and check my work, because that is not my best self. I'm aware of that. Talk to my wife about it. I've got a counselor, looking into getting a priest. This is like an extension of like compulsive behavior mixed with like poor anger management. I'm aware of it. I'm working on it.
His
Now, when
rabbi
I
isn't
do get
helping
set
him.
off, it's because I see one of two things. Either one, I see the idiot trolls that just want to anonymously act like assholes on my feed. I know I'm getting like territorial over imaginary internet space. Like, don't come onto my channel and post your BS. But anyways, that sets me off. Or the people that have all of this unearned confidence in the things they're saying that are just absolutely
Unearned
wrong,
confidence,
not
bro.
based in me.
Let's pause
And I
that for a
saw
moment. Let's pause that for a moment.
We're not even roasting his arguments. We're just roasting him.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess this is ad hominem, but it's him doing it, bro. He started it. Blame yourself, Bromley.
This is low hanging fruit right here.
It is. It is, but so far it's the most enraging thing. So where he's going with this is like shock your muscles, right? Change up your exercises, right? If you're gonna change volume, when you hit a plateau, if you're gonna if you're gonna train for density, because that gets you jacked. We all know that. That doesn't get you injured.
What the fuck is density?
That's a
How am I going to
CrossFit.
change the density of my training? What does that mean?
That's like
What is
CrossFit,
that?
like if you give yourself a minute, how many reps can you do in your minute? And that's going to grow your muscle. It's not. And if it does, it's going to grow your muscle because you failed. You fatigued. At some point, the last 5 reps that you could barely do gave you the stimulus. We've talked about this before, obviously.
Like
right?
effective reps?
Yeah, right. Like you did so many reps, you found some effective reps. And that's what happens with volume, right? So guys do grow with volume, as we know. It happens, but it's because they got tired. Right?
It's
The
because the
bar slowed
last
down.
5 reps on that 4 sets of 10 got hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they had to recover from 35 other reps. So why do 35 other reps and then have to deload and then have to cope like Alexander Bromley and switch and then say you need to switch important variables like density, bro. Density. Proceed with this.
A ton of that. I really like engaging with the comments because there's a lot of people that watch this channel diligently that contribute a lot.
I don't think there are, by the way.
But even like talking to people that have different perspectives than I do, when they're willing and open to have a conversation. There were a couple of guys from the hit side of things that seemed to have that vibe, and I engaged with them accordingly. And I think there were some good back and forth, some good conversations. Overwhelmingly, though, like 95% of the people that were blatantly hit promoters were bottom of the barrel. You had people that were just trying to wear this scientific jargon like a mask. But it's like if you're a native speaker, you can hear what a fluent speaker sounds like. It's like if somebody was illiterate, but then they insist that they help you with your English homework. It doesn't make any sense. You could hear when they use this jargon that they're using it as an affectation to try and present the illusion of being intelligent or educated. It sounded like it was coming from people who just they haven't been within 10 square miles of a research lab, haven't read through textbooks,
Character assassination.
haven't even had a passing interest in science as a discipline.
Just take a moment. So, how many bodybuilders do you know who have been anywhere near a research lab or give a shit about a study? You stupid bugman. You nerd. You know what I mean? Like, and that's it. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm making fun of this guy being fat and also bald because, like, he's being mean. He's being mean. It's not us being mean, Billy. We're nice. We're nice. It's unbelievable what this guy's coming up with. Like, he's saying that the people in his chat, like, are meatheads. That's what he said. That's his argument. The guys in my chat are meatheads, and they're trying to say science things, and they sound stupid. But dude, you're a nerd. That's there's the flip side of that is you're a nerd. So which is worse? Being a meathead, we're talking about lifting weights, my dude, or being a nerd? You're a nerd.
And he's appealing to himself as the figure of authority because he's the native speaker.
Yeah,
so he knows what's right and what's wrong out of the studies.
Yeah,
and he can determine and decipher that information.
Yeah,
not you, meathead.
Yeah, you're a dumb meathead, and I'm Alexander Bromley, the scientist, who's been within 10 miles of a research facility, and I know, but you couldn't possibly know because I can hear it in your word. This is why I said what I said in the beginning. You see, because he kind of is saying the same thing as me about the people that disagree with him, right? You got to listen to what they say and how they say it, and then he's characterizing it in a certain way. But this is classic deconstructionism, right? He's not able to take the arguments at face value, and so what does he do? He attacks the person, strawmans them, gets mad. He even said he got mad. Went in his comment section, got mad, had to get a counselor and talk to his wife. Unbelievable.
And notice, how many minutes are we into this video? Like, how long is it that YouTube video played?
I can't see. 5 minutes.
Okay, in 5 minutes, he never brought up one thing to make a rebuttal against.
No.
There's not one piece of information that he has tried to contradict.
Zero.
Not one. There's zero principles, zero aspects of the theory. There's nothing that he's, there's nothing that he's even debating here.
No. What he's saying that you're going to plateau. He's saying that what happens when you plateau? You have to switch up variables, bro. You're not listening.
We don't believe in plateauing. You're not going to plateau if you do me.
There is no plateaus, dummy. You know what you do? You rest, and then you go back and lift again, and then you lift a little bit more than you did before, and you progressively load. There's no plateaus. So, what are you talking about? Like, just because you have plateaus, my dude, because you don't train HIIT, right? And then you're doing weird nerd shit to try and figure out why that keeps happening to you and why your tummy's wider than your lats. That's your fault, man. It's your fault for being
a nerd. Tummy. He has a tummy.
It's a tummy, bro. Him and Greg Knuckles play tummy sticks, bro.
Tummy sticks.
Okay. Let's keep going. He name drops Greg Knuckles, who, like, granted, is a super strong dude, but also he's not very lean, and he doesn't look very good. So strong and smart, I guess. Cool.
The plan is just something they want to appeal to because a guy they like on YouTube cited some studies. So now it's like you can say, oh, the science. The attempts at appealing to the evidence-based side of things were just so horrifically bad. It was a lot of people just saying, where are the studies?
Give me an example.
Jay's given studies. Where are your studies? Which by itself gives away how little involvement the individual has in any STEM field. Even so much as a chemistry lab at a junior college, you get some sense of how the type of work that leads to a study is like one puzzle piece of like a 1,000,000-piece jigsaw puzzle. And you got to take a step back and look at the whole picture. And these people are trying to take one puzzle.
He's got the whole picture, okay?
It's a dolphin, right? It's a dolphin. Like,
if you take the initiation rites, he'll reveal them to you slowly.
Yeah.
What kind of Masonic bullshit is that? You're like, no, you only got one piece. There's a little bit more. You need to join my side, and I'll explain to you. It's just one piece of the puzzle. There's so many pieces.
Yeah,
I've got just the whole puzzle in the back.
Degree. Once you reach the 33rd degree, you'll be training for density and getting gains.
Yeah.
Or something, right? Like, this is nonsense, bro. Like,
no, it's just phallus worship.
Yeah.
He just wants you to worship his phallus.
Yeah. He wants to charge subs for his tummy stick leak. Anyways, man, what he just said, like, again, he's leading into the thing that I was talking about, where now this is happening because these nerds can't even use their science to support their nonsense anymore, because we're right. Mike was right. That recent meta-analysis, whatever it is, we didn't even look at it yet. I don't even care.
I don't even care about it. Yeah.
No, I don't care.
But if he's going to tell me the studies aren't true, to tell me what that study is and tell me why it's not true. Make an argument against HIIT.
Yeah.
This is the anti-HIIT manifesto, and there's nothing of substance in it. What is this?
Nothing in it. So when you're trying not to address, like, the actual issue, you're bouncing around the actual issue. This is deconstructionism, right? And so the mistake that people make a lot, and they've made before, and I even do this, that I was like, super science-based nerd internet guy, fam. I've told you guys before, I've did this poured through studies and all this stuff. But it's so long ago, I don't even remember because I don't care anymore. So it's pointless, you know? So like, I'm very much happy to sound like a meathead. And it's like, if I got back into this kind of science back and forth nonsense, right? I'm just getting sucked into the argument the place he wants to be able to have the argument. He wants to obfuscate the truth, right? And if he pulls you into this academia, which is what he did, and this becomes the basis for him saying that now he does his appeal to authority as what it is. This one is called white coat fallacy, right? So I'm the fancy guy, right? I'm the guy with the white coat, so you better listen to me. You know what I mean?
Right. I'm accredited. I have the credentials. You don't have the credentials. You're not allowed to hold this information because you can't, you're not qualified to hold that information.
Yeah, that's real. The reason I don't have a master's degree is because while I was doing my thesis, I realized that I was being a nerd and I didn't care anymore about being a nerd and getting credentials that allowed me to have arguments with these types of morons. You understand?
Well,
so
man, tell the truth, brother. You wrote your thesis against the structuralist orthopedic model.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
you went JC and started flipping tables in the.
Yeah,
you started flipping the money changers tables, going, this whole shit is fucked up and wrong and dumb.
Yep, that's literally what I did. And that's how we got here many years later. So, I'm very sensitive to this type of rhetoric because I've heard it so much before, bro. Like, I've been in the chats 10 years ago arguing with the Jeff Nippards of the world and the Greg Knuckles of the world and all this stuff. And at a certain point, and back then, you'd get on the side of an argument with some guys and on the other side of the argument with other guys, and you just go back and forth and back and forth. And then it's like I started to become ashamed of myself, bro. I started to wonder, like, am I really a nerd like this? Like, is this who I am now? And I just had to pull back. I just had to get out. Talk about cults.
You just tell everybody the truth. You couldn't get your NASM certs. You don't have your NASM certs.
It's
and
true.
You're not qualified, bro. You had to take a step back.
It's true. Actually, really, like, truthfully, like, literally, I failed my CSC, the Certified Strength and Conditioning Coach Specialist cert, which, like, back then I thought that was the coolest cert. If you have CSCS at the end, I wanted to have BSc, MS, CS, MSc, CSCS. That's what I wanted. That was my little alphabet that I wanted at the end of my name. And then, and if I did that, if I actually accomplished it, then I could be like BSc, MSc, CSCS, 2+ LGBTQ S or whatever, and then I'd be cool. Everybody would love me. That'd be awesome. I'd be famous and rich, and me and Alexander Bromley would be doing streams together.
This to rest. The reason you are not being scientific or appealing to the science when you are utilizing individual studies, specifically in exercise science, to inform your training decisions is because there are severe limitations to the studies. These are all talked about. I had a talk with Greg Knuckles last week.
Really quick. Oh, yeah, he just said Greg Knuckles really quick. So this is the part where he goes and felts 25 years of vol cell argumentation. This is the moment where the tables turn, folks. So it happened here. You saw it on IconoCast. Because when he did this, nobody realized what was happening. But we're highlighting it for you as we're bringing you the goods, folks. You understand? There's a moment in history. Vol cells felt it. Self-felt it.
Funding. So oftentimes they have kind of poorer methods of measurement than you would like. He also said, and this stands to reason, this fits my experience, the field of exercise science, apparently something like 85% of the studies put out had statistical errors in them. He put it more diplomatically than I would. He basically said that people that are really good at math and science tend to end up in math and science fields. Now, that's just one small part, because the big thing is, what are your limitations with this study? Like, even if you have all the money, even if you have the best minds, what can the studies do? Any field where you have a ton of variables to consider, those variables are intrinsically tangled together, meaning changing one changes all of the others. And those variables exist within individuals who between themselves are all highly variable. Makes it extremely hard, if not outright impossible, to control for these variables the way you want to. You also have to operationalize things. So like in psychology, if you're trying to study happiness, well, how do you measure happiness? You have to have a proxy for that. And there's a whole bunch of assumptions that go into it. So you end up with this replication crisis because all of the variability, each little point at which has its own little like wiggle room, its little play in the joints. And over all of these variables together, over all of the limitations of the study, that ends up for pretty big margins for error. The same thing is going on in nutrition. The bullshit that gets put out in nutrition studies, it's legendary. We're not getting the whole picture yet because our ability to study is limited. You can have as much money as you want. You can have the best minds. You're still going to have a cap on what you can find in laboratory studies. You're limited on the types of questions you can ask. So in the field of exercise science, they compare volume and intensity. The first thing I think of is, how did they apply the volume? What methods did they use? What was the density like? What was the exercise selection? What was the frequency? Was it appropriate for the group that they had? What was their method of progression? Was it a linear progression? Was it more of a static progression where they just had them do kind of the same thing? There's so many questions you can ask, and each one has huge implications for how they would respond to it. And all of these limitations are exactly why we don't look at individual studies to inform decisions. Even if we did do that, you would want to look at what the lion's share of the studies say. Like I said, one puzzle piece out of a million-piece jigsaw puzzle. If you take a step back, you see this picture, this cohesive way of looking at training, that the entirety of exercise science and all of the things that branch off of it abide by. And everything from the field of strength and conditioning, which deals with pro athletes and billion-dollar sports franchises, from Olympic lifters and Olympic sports programs, to professional bodybuilders. You're looking at guys living out of their car, spending all their money on cans of tuna
Pause for a
because
sec.
they're that desperate. They're that
Dude, yes, there is if you pull back and you look at the entire bodies of evidence, yes, there is a method that everybody should abide by. Whether you fell into your failure reps like incidentally, right? Because you were in prison, you had no stuff, or you read Arnold's encyclopedia. Eventually, you hit the last 5 reps of a set. The implement slowed down involuntarily, and you stimulated muscle growth. And you had your final transcendent rep, So there is, and it's called HIT. You loser. Ugh. Unbelievable.
Yeah, they're not the exercise science studies aren't really putting a theory into practice. They're not testing a theory via the scientific method. You have to have a valid theory that's logical first, and then you test it. What is our theory? Our theory is that one set to failure is all that is required to stimulate the adaptive response. Volume is always a net negative. The more work we do, the more we have to recover from. The body has a limited capacity for recovery, therefore it requires rest time. The body grows at rest. We can test this. How can I test to see if one set to failure was enough? Well, I'll train with X number of sets to failure with X number of days between a recurring training session, and I will see if my force production is greater on my subsequent training session. If my force production is greater, then my theory is true. I've validated it. The data will show that I saw an adaptation within the muscle occur. The greater the cross-sectional surface area of a muscle, the more force it can put out. See, I just named a valid theory and how to test it. This theory could apply to all individuals. It doesn't matter if they are untrained, if they are old, if they are women, if they are fat, if they are children. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter their genetic predispositions. None of that matters. If they don't progress, then they could go back the next week and retest the theory and change one of the variables, one of the alterable variables. They can lower their volume and retest, or they can lower their frequency and retest.
Yeah, which is essentially what he's saying, but he's saying it from the stupid frame. Sorry, of we're gonna get banned of periodization, right? So he's saying change periodization variables, change for density, change, do more volume, right? Like, what are you really saying, dude? That's a question for Bromley. What are you really saying? You don't even know what you're saying because you're all confused because your whole worldview, your whole like perspective. These guys, what they're gonna do, man. Watch Mike Israel and watch these types of dudes. What's gonna happen? They're gonna eventually go towards making exactly our arguments and actually advocating for one set to fail, and they're not gonna give us the credit. They're gonna act like they thought of it. It's gonna be amazing to watch. We're on the path there now. That's going to be the outcome of this. Mark my words. Mark my words. If Mike Israel eventually is going to say that he invented hit, that Joe Weider invented hit. That's what's going to happen.
Well, I did hear Mike say that the only thing that matters is effective reps.
Yes, sir. I heard him say that recently too.
I did hear him say it recently.
Yeah, very recently.
Yeah, very recently.
Yeah, we're gonna have to pull that up at some point, but we're gonna expose you guys to this a little bit slowly. One little piece of stupidity at a time and one little concession at a time, because again, mark my words, it's all going in our direction because they cannot handle the arguments. This nonsense of reps in reserve, this nonsense of RPE.
You can't measure that scientifically. You can't measure that one scientifically either. You can't. You know what you can measure every day of the week? Failure. Failure is universal. It applies to everyone. You can no longer perform a rep in the concentric. You cannot complete a rep in its concentric motion. Don't be a Jeff Niptard and try to argue about ranges of motion. Well, what if I get to the X percentage of my ROM? Nobody cares, bro. You didn't complete the rep. It's over. You failed. Move on. You see, we have a scientific basis to measure all of our variables, and we can keep them consistent. You know, it's just...
Yeah. If you want to, like, because we're not nerds, we're not trying to do science. However, we are doing science. It's natural science, folks. The way science used to be done before all of our institutions were compromised.
Thank you, bro.
Shirred up and pissed up with the type of dudes that this guy references. He wants authorities. He said at a certain point, I don't know if he's going to say it here or in the next video, he says, I'm waiting for the Mike Israel of HIT to come and tell me why HIT is correct. He wants to see a guy with the credentials, with the background, with the years of experience to tell him why HIT is correct. What's it going to take, bro? Like, I've got a little online degree. I got 15 years behind me. Mike Mentor is Mike Mentor, dog. You think that Mike Israel and Mike Mentor should be mentioned in the same breath? You think I should mention myself in the same breath as Mike Mentor or Dorian Yates, my guy? Are you on drugs? Right? Most of these bug men are on drugs, for the record. So, you know, maybe he is. Maybe he's got on drugs, prescription drugs from his therapist that his wife made him go get because he's too weird. You know, he plays, you know, reads too many comic books or something like this. Probably. Good chance. But, you know, man, I'm telling you, like, they're just not going to accept it. That's it. Because they see themselves as the white coats. They see themselves as, you know, the guys with the perspective. The guys, I've been in 10 inches, 10 feet, 10 miles of a lab, you know, which is not where the real science happens, bro.
All of my previous argumentations that I just made on the stream is just me pretending to be smart.
Yeah, you're just a meathead, Billy.
I just pretended to be smart just now. You know, I used the veil of logic to put that all together, to string together that nonsense. I don't have the whole puzzle. I just got one little piece of it. I'm not qualified because I'm a bodybuilder from Southwest Louisiana.
But so yes, dude, right? You're just like, you know, just go back to your heavy equipment. You know what I mean? Don't try, Billy, because you can't hang with these guys. They have their little white coats, they have their little EMG machines and their labs and their budgets, and they want to play tummy sticks. You know,
NASM certs.
Yeah, bro, and their porn addictions and their OnlyFans that they're probably going to set up to show tummy stick league. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what's up, man. This is what these guys do, bro. It's absolute nonsense. And you know that Mike Israel is going to be reffing each tummy. He's going to be the ref for the tummy stick league. He's going to be right in there calling.
That is right up his alley.
Yeah, 100% it is, bro.
that hungry to be as good as possible. And you get things from the people in the comments saying like, well, they don't do HIIT because it's too hard. So because we can't look at any one high performer and really know beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's not just their genes that made them that good, we can look at the entire culture of high performers and get a consensus of what works and what doesn't.
The appeal to authority. Well, let's look at the guys at the top and see what they do. That means they're right. He just talked about the genetic elites and like,
I'll be
well,
right
somebody
back,
just
man.
got
You keep
good
going, though.
because of their good genes. Yeah, I'll carry on. This fucking guy. So he goes on to say that, you know, he needs the right test pool, you know, of people. You can't just say that HIIT works for you. You might have, you know, really good genes. So that takes away from you, you know, the validity of your argument. Because maybe I just have good genes and that's why HIIT worked for me. Yet he wants to take a look at all of the high performers and see what they do. You mean the people that rose to the top 0.1% of the population, and you want to ask them what they did to get there? Those motherfuckers could have pushed lawnmowers and got bigger chests than 99% of the population. Have you seen Ronnie Coleman's mama? She is yoked. No question about it. He wants to look at the top 99% and ask them what they do. That is an appeal to authority. It's exactly what that is. You're looking at the top of the top and giving credence to their arguments based on their position. This video summarizes pretty much every debate against HIIT I've ever seen. Every debate against heavy duty training, anyone who's tried to backlash against me, you know, when I bring up my argumentations or I present the theory, it's always the same. Just like that, every time. They automatically assume the high ground in regard to intelligence and how to distribute information. Therefore, you are automatically disqualified. They rarely ever actually make argumentations against the theory. It is always your character that is attacked. It is always an appeal to a higher authority. It's always that white coating shit, which is pretty much what I just said. Straw mans and ad hominems. You know, well, Bill, you're just big because you're on steroids, and you train with volume for years. It's like people ask me that one all the time. But did you start with high volume? Yeah, I did a lot more volume back then than I do now. But you know what I always did? Day one in the gym, I went to failure. The guys who took me under their wing would make me train so hard, like brutally. Forced reps, drop sets, triple drop sets, forced negatives. You know, that was day one. Intensity was always there. But as time progressed, I got stronger and stronger and bigger. And the amount of damage that I could do to myself with intensity to training to failure, the output that my muscles had was causing, you know, exponential or gradually increasing levels of damage that I could no longer recover from. So over the course of my 10 years of training, I have done less and less and less and less work volume and had way more rest. So less frequency as well. The one variable that never changed in any of my training was how intensely I train. I found out that I'm not capable of deloading. When I would go into the gym and it was supposed to be my little quote unquote deloading period, I would just grab lighter weights and train to absolute failure. That's what I would do. And you know what would happen? I'd get injured. I'd stay banged up, dinged up, achy, sore. And that was with about 8 sets maximum on a body part. See, I was doing 2 top sets with some warming up. And I could sustain progression on that for about 4 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. After the 4 weeks, 6 weeks was up, it was time for me to chill out. I would plateau, obviously, at that 4 to 6 weeks. Then I was supposed to chill. I'd go in, train like I do because it's in my blood, and then I would just get banged up, dinged up, injured. So what was the natural progression to do? What was I supposed to do? Well, do less sets, take more rest. Look at me now. I'm 5'6.5", and I'm a true heavyweight bodybuilder on stage. Where did I start? Where did I start at? How much have I progressed in the last year? How much have I progressed in the last 3 years?
Really, you started on volume. You started on volume. You did
No, I started
volume
on
first.
intensity, motherfucker. Fuck all that bullshit. I did intensity first. I did intensity. It was always intensity. People ask me that all the time. They try to use that as like a pull the rug out from underneath me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but didn't you start with high volume? I never did 5 sets of fucking 5. Never. Never did that. Never did 3 sets of fucking 10. I did sets till I couldn't do them anymore.
That's it, man.
AMRAP. Everything was AMRAP. As many reps as possible. There's your density. You want to see density in your training? Look at my shoulders. Suck my fucking tongue, Bromley. Pisses me off, man.
There we go.